Right, so hey everyone, welcome to another video, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about Mortal Kombat 1. We're going to analyze a bit of things that are going on. By now, most of you might know that, the beta test, there was a stress test going on. Few people were able to get the codes, they were able to play the game, test out the mechanics, test out the combo potential, the whole new air combos, the cameo fighters, how they all work in. And the gameplays were like, a lot of people have streamed their gameplays. I watched a few. It looks phenomenal. Uh, so far, like the playable characters were Sub-Zero, Kenshi, Kitana, and Liu Kang. So those were the four playable characters. With the cameo characters, that means the assist characters being Kano, Sonya, um, Sonya, and I think those were the only two, if I remember correctly. I can't remember if there were any else. Anyway, so that aside, gameplay mechanics, it still looks like it could use some fine tuning, is from what I saw. And as you can see from this tweet, Ed Boon, so he said that we've got another great gameplay trailer coming soon with more main and cameo fight reveals, which is all fine. But what we're more interested is in what the story, what the lore of MK1 is going to turn out to be like. We know for a fact that this is like a full timeline reset. We know that some of the things that some of the lore that we've already grown to know and love in MK will change. Some things will no longer stay the same. So we expect that to happen. But what exactly is it going to be? We're going to dive into that in this video. So on the MK1 website, they've updated the website recently, and I wanted to make a special video about this so I can talk about it. And where was it? Somewhere here we could, yeah, so they updated the BIOS gameplay trailer. Here we go. So they've updated so these are the renders and the BIOS of each of the so far revealed characters. So there's a bunch of them that we saw in the trailer. They're all here, and we're going to read their BIOS and pretty much see what we can analyze, right? So we're going to start with, of course, the cover character of the game, where it's all revolved around in Fire God Liu Kang. We already know a bit about him, but let's see what does it say. Having won control of the hourglass, Liu Kang restarted history. He neutralized the threats and dangers that have come before, crafting a new era in which all beings would have the opportunity to find peace. Uh, but now that peace is now threatened by an enemy that Liu Kang could never have anticipated. I'm guessing there would be Shang Tsung, since that was revealed in the trailer. But it could be someone else. We don't know. Shang Tsung, for all we know, could be a pawn. We never know. It'll take all his wisdom and experience to save not only Earth realm but all reality. So nothing new there. Pretty standard stuff. Pretty much picking up from where Liu Kang left off in Mortal Kombat 11. So he turns into Fire God Liu Kang. He's restarted the timeline. So he's trying to create a very peaceful timeline, but there's still a shitstorm nonetheless. Otherwise, we won't be having a Mortal Kombat game. There always needs to be a shitstorm. So yeah, nothing different from Liu Kang's perspective. It's just that his role has changed dramatically. He is now the guiding figure of the Earthrealm warriors. He is now pretty much, I guess, the narrator. He's pretty much taken over Raiden's role, right? He is now playing essentially Raiden's role from all the Mortal Kombat game that has come before. He's now basically the Raiden of Earthrealm, right? He's the protector of Earthrealm. Yeah, that's basically it. So Liu Kang aside, so we know that Liu Kang will not change drastically because he's he's essentially the only character who knows what happened before, who have had any memory of what has happened prior to MK1. Everyone else kind of like gets a fresh reboot, and we're gonna go dive right into that with Sub-Zero, the Grandmaster, the Lin Kuei. So this we think is Bihan, right? For those of you who remember, Bihan was the first Sub-Zero dating back to Mortal Kombat 1. He was actually working against Earthrealm. He was working for Shang Tsung. He was killed by Scorpion at that time, and then Kuai Liang, his younger brother, becomes Sub-Zero, while Bi Han becomes Noob Saibot. So now in this case, he's let's read the bio. As the Lin Kuei's Grandmaster, Sub-Zero leads his ancient warrior clan in the defense of Earthrealm from external threats. For centuries, it has been their solemn task, but Earthrealm hasn't been threatened in generations, and Sub-Zero sees no point in limiting his clan to preparing for dangers that may never come. Under his leadership, the Lin Kuei will come out of the shadows and fight for its place as one of Earthrealm's greatest nations. So Lin Kuei is no longer a clan; it's a nation, according to this. So that's what I'm wondering. So Sub Zero is already the Grandmaster of the Lin Kuei, right? Um, so I'm guessing this is Bihan, right? This is like the redemption of Bihan. He's now through and through a good guy. Uh, if you guys remember, in the first few MKs, there was another Grandmaster of the Lin Kuei, while Bihan was already Sub Zero, but he was not the Grandmaster. The Grandmaster was actually Sector's father, which actually gave Sector more connection to the Lin Kuei, and which pretty much kind of like gave Sector his, uh, what do you call it, his motivation for why he had so much ties to the Lin Kuei, as to what Sector was all about, him trying to take control of the Lin Kuei, and stuff like that, the Cyborg initiative. So I'm guessing from the looks of this, from the looks of this, it seems like we will not be getting Sector Cyrax or even Smoke in that regard. Maybe not, who knows. They could still be part of the Lin Kuei in some way, or they could be introduced through another way. But so far, Sector's father, the Grandmaster, like the original Grandmaster that we knew from the initial games, is no longer there. So either he was there, or there some history has happened, and Bihan, Sub Zero. I'm guessing it still didn't say anywhere that this is Bihan, but I'm guessing this has to be Bihan, because the next one we're going to read, which is Scorpion, is going to be quite interesting. I think this is where one of the biggest changes is going to occur. And so let's go into Scorpion, and I think this is where, oops, we went too far. There we go, Scorpion. So it says here, like his cherished father. Now, prior to these games, I still don't know, other than Bihan and Kuai Liang, I still don't know anyone else who's related to the Sub-Zero family or anything like that. But according to this, so like his cherished father, Scorpion is dedicated to the Lin Kuei and its defense of Earthrealm. When his father died, Scorpion was bereft, though he took pride in knowing that his brother Sub-Zero would succeed their father as the Lin Kuei's Grandmaster. But Sub-Zero's unprecedented moves has cast off the Lin Kuei's tradition duties, have frozen Scorpion's enthusiasm. He fears that he may one day have to battle his brother for control of Lin Kuei's legacy. Now, this is very interesting because Sub-Zero and Scorpion are brothers now, are literally brothers. So, which makes me believe that this Scorpion, this particular Scorpion, is actually Kuai Liang, the one who was supposed to take over as Sub-Zero. But since Sub-Zero is Bihan, Kuai Liang is now Scorpion. How does he become Scorpion? I have no idea. How does he become a Spectre? Maybe he doesn't become a Spectre, but how does he have fire-based powers? I have no idea, because Sub-Zero is a Cryomancer, while Scorpion is a Hellspawn. He's a Hellspawn. He's a Spectre, right? He's a Fire Spectre. So if this is Kuai Liang, this is what brings us our biggest question: is what happens to Hanzo Hasashi, who is originally Scorpion, the original Scorpion, right? So does this mean that Hanzo Hasashi is no longer there? Does this mean that we no longer have the Shirai Ryu clan? That means the Lin Kuei's rival clan. Does that no longer exist? Or will Hanzo Hasashi, come in as a different Scorpion? We don't know. I mean, so far it looks like Kuai Liang is Scorpion, and reading this bio, it looks like he, even though it looks like he's part of him, it looks like he might betray the good guys or something like that, because not betray the good guys decision, but it looks like he and Sub Zero. I mean, like usually when Scorpion and Sub Zero always comes into butt heads, but but towards the later games, they've been allies, but in this they start off as allies, and it looks like they might butt heads again over the Link Ways legacy and stuff like that. So this is so we know that the story is getting a fresh reboot. So it's like you need to forget. It's like for new fans, right? If you're starting from this, it's fine. This is a good starting point for people who are not familiar with the MKLO, but long hardcore fans of the MKLO might not like this. I mean, like, I'm okay with this as long as they do not totally get rid of Hanzo Hasashi, because I think Hanzo Hasashi is one of the greatest, one a really good character in the MK universe. Like the OG Scorpion, I would say. This is fine. Like Kuai Liang, they're taking a different approach. I hope Hanzo Hasashi comes in some other form, maybe, because it would be such a loss to get rid of such a good character. I mean, like when they initially said that Scorpion and Sub Zero would be brothers, I assumed that they meant that Bi-Han and Hanzo Hasashi would be brothers. But the fact that it looks like, from the looks of this, I mean, for all we know, this could be Hanzo Hasashi, because they have not revealed the names yet, or maybe they have and I have missed it somewhere. Because a lot of people think that this might be Kuai Liang. So, because if it is brothers, it has to be like Bi-Han, Kuai Liang. But if they decide to make Hanzo Hasashi like brothers with Bi-Han, or maybe Sub Zero could be Kuai Liang, and because he was the best because he was the better Sub Zero, obviously, and this is so yeah. So this could be one big change in case they dive down this path where Scorpion is no longer Hanzo Hasashi, and this Scorpion is now what's his name is Kuai Liang, right? So that is the first big question mark that we have in terms of the lore and the character arc, and as to the origin of this character. So Scorpion has the biggest change so far. Sub Zero is fine. Fire God Liu Kang is fine. Fire God Liu Kang will be the most static one, carrying over from MK11. Sub Zero has his changes. Scorpion has one of the biggest changes, I would say, in terms of character lore. And then moving on, we have Kitana, Princess of Outworld. So when it says Princess of Outworld, it seems like, I'm guessing, because she's originally from Edenia, right? So either Edenia is no longer there in this timeline, or it's there and for some reason Kitana is not from Edenia. So if you read this, Kitana has one purpose in life: to aid and protect her older sister, Melina, as she prepares to rule Outworld one day. So this confirms one thing, that in this timeline right now, Melina and Kitana are now actual sisters, unlike in the previous games where Melina was always a clone created from Kitana's DNA and Tarkatan DNA, right? So it seems like they are now actual sisters, which is a good thing. Fans have always wanted that. The city-handed Kitana ignores the calls of those who advocate that she would replace her impulsive sister as heir. So I'm guessing this is the point where they would butt heads eventually, where they would see some difference between the two and fight each other, because over the successor of the throne or something like that. Instead, Kitana will defend the realm by fighting to make Melina the best empress possible. She will also fight to hide the dark secret that would end her sister's reign before it begins. So, what I'm curious is as to like who their father is. Like, could whether Sindel is still involved as their mother, or is Jared the original father from the original timeline still the father? Is Shao Kahn involved somehow? Since they're in Outworld, we have no idea. But what we do know is that Kitana and Melina are now properly from Outworld, now no longer Dania, and they're their actual twin sisters, with Melina in line to take the throne. So that means Melina is the oldest of the two. So Kitana, I guess Kitana is also kind of like Sub Zero, not too much of a difference. So Kitana and Melina are like more like the female versions of Scorpion and Sub Zero, basically. So mortal enemies in the past, friends now, friends as in related now, and then they would eventually butt heads over legacy. Moving over next, my favorite, and it wouldn't be a proper MK name. I mean, like, yeah, you can have an MK game without Johnny Cage, but still, you need Johnny Cage to make any MK game awesome. Johnny Cage. Like many stars before him, Johnny became addicted to his fame. He came to measure his self worth by his fans' adoration and their praise of him on social media. But now his star, but with his star now fading, Johnny is fighting an uphill battle to remain relevant. He joins Liu Kang's Earthrealm champions, hoping that it'll provide his career and his fame a desperate needed boost. So basically, nothing has actually changed from Johnny Cage. This still sounds like the MK1 early Johnny Cage, the pre mature Johnny Cage, the immature, I mean, I would say like the pre wise mature version of Johnny Cage, which we have grown to know from MKX, I would say. I guess that was like the best version you could get of Johnny, the a more down to earth, wise guy, plus with his funny gimmick side of him. Uh, but yeah, so it looks like we're back to square one with Johnny. Actually, not much of a difference. It seems like he's carried over his old self. No change as of now that we know of. But yeah, it seems like he's starting as his asshole self, to be accurate. So regardless, we're still happy that Johnny Cage is in the game. Moving on. So not much of a difference to Johnny's low wise. He's an actor, failing actor. I mean, his motivation to join the Mortal Kombat tournament is slightly different. I think in the first one, it wasn't that he was failing as an actor, was it? He had some other stupid reason for joining, something like that. But yeah, regardless, it still sounds like same old Johnny to me. Next, Kenshi. I think Kenshi has one of the biggest changes, even bigger than Scorpion. So, restorer of his family's name, Kenshi Takahashi. So, if you read his bio, once one of ancient Japan's most honored families, the Takahashis were decimated in battle. They lost everything, including the emblem of their power, the revered Sento. Those who survived joined the Bakuto, a predecessor of the Yakuza, for its protection. 5 centuries later, Kenshi is raised on the stories of his ancient family's exploits. Detesting his corrupt Yakuza life, he pines to free the Takahashis from the Yakuza's grasp and restore their name. So this is crazy because if you remember in the trailer, one, Kenshi was not blind at the time, so which is still, you know, in line with what has happened in past MK games. So Kenshi was initially he did not lose his eyesight immediately, but the fact that he is now Yakuza and all that is very different because in the original game, so Kenshi, I can't remember what his proper origin was, but basically he lost his eyesight through Shang Tsung's trickery, right? So Shang Tsung tricked him into doing something for him. I couldn't remember the exact thing, but that's how he found the sword, right? After losing his eyesight, something to do with the Solnado, and he lost his eyesight there. But that's how he found the sword. It was a cursed sword, right? If I remember correctly. So yeah, and the sword is what helps him get his telekinesis abilities and all that. So this one, it's totally different, right? So apparently the sword is part of his family's legacy and stuff like that. Uh, so and I'm guessing like through the course of the game he will be losing his eyesight through other means, maybe through some battle gone wrong or something like that. It seems like he might lose his eyes for a more kind of like a generic reason, I would say, when compared to like all the reasons you could think of in an MK universe. More like a generic, like kind of like a kind of loses like losing his eyesight in battle basically, and not through Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung could be the cause. Once again, Shang Tsung could be the direct cause, right? He could be losing his eyesight in a battle against Shang Tsung, but it won't be exactly the same way, I guess, like how Shang Tsung tricked him into doing this task for him and then losing his eyesight through that, like what has happened in the previous games, right? So he's part Yakuza, I like this backstory, and I think it's kind of like a boost to Kenshi's law in a way. He sounds way cooler, and his design, his overall design, is sick. And if you've seen his gameplay, actually, it's really like he's a very he's a, I would say, how would you say, he's no longer like Kenshi used to be like a setup character, right? You know, you can set up his telekinesis clones and stuff like that, but he's no longer exactly a setup character. He's more like a, I'm not sure what the correct term is. Is it a puppet character where you pretty much have like a clone of him, and but the clone functions like another playable character, and you end up controlling two characters at the same time. So yeah, that's what it is, right? So with Kenshi, he's like a puppet character, puppeteer. So he has a clone, he has himself, and then you have the cameo with us. So you control three characters. I can just think of all the possible, like, it's just crazy. Like when you just go online and see all the combo potentials people pull off with him, it's just crazy. So there's Kenshi for you. Like biggest change to his law, I think. Biggest change wise to law, I think Kenshi takes number one, and then Scorpion, and then I guess everyone else is, it's there. They're okay. Next up, we got Kung Lao, youthful warrior with dreams of glory. Born and raised in the village of Fengjian, Kung Lao has spent his life toiling in the fields. It has been an honorable life, if not a glorious one. Kung Lao's greatest fear is that his life will amount to nothing. He prays fervently that he will be called to do something bigger. His prayers were answered when he was asked to join the champions at Earthrealm as a warrior fighting for his honor. Kung Lao knows that his victories will long be remembered. So, not really anything different. So, Kung Lao always waiting to prove himself, and stuff like that. Yeah, it just sounds like stock Kung Lao from the old Mortal Kombat. It's just that I think now, see, Kung Lao was always compared with Liu Kang, right? Because those two were always on par with each other. They were pretty much the successors to Raiden, right? To Raiden's champions, like the right and left hand of Raiden, basically. Anything. So now that Liu Kang is now Fire God, so I'm guessing now Kung Lao, and now we know that Raiden is also human, so it's Kung Lao and Raiden who is the left and right hand of Liu Kang. So, and looking at this, I expected more from Kung Lao's lore, because they always do dirty, a little bit dirty by Kung Lao, right? They always don't really give him the proper spotlight that he deserves. He's a great character. He's always been around. He's always playing second fiddle to someone, unfortunately. But he's always eager to prove himself. He's always stuck in this endless cycle of trying to prove himself, and that ends up costing his life. Yeah. But hopefully, things work out for him in this one. But according to this, it seems like nothing changed. He's kind of like Johnny Cage, still stuck doing the exact same thing, trying to prove himself. Moving on, Melina, heir to Outworld's throne. Let's see. Born mere seconds ahead of her twin sister, so she is the oldest. Melina is the rightful heir to Outworld's throne, but even so, there are those who distrust Melina's impulsiveness. They whisper that Kitana, with her steadier hand, should replace Melina's heir to the throne. So I'm guessing this is what causes the rift between herself and Kitana, and then ends up driving them towards conflict. As Melina fights for legitimacy, she hides a horrible secret. She is infected with the dreaded and lethal Takat disease. Is that what they're calling the whole teeth and everything? The Takatan thing. Takat. So it's no longer Takatan, is it? Were her affliction found out, Melina would be forced into battle to save her throne. Interesting. Okay, so Melina, her story is different. Her origin story is different. I mean, this proves that she's actually born human. Or human can she be? She's not a clone or anything. She is the older sister of Kitana now. But she has this disease called the Takat disease. Now, this used to be, I think this is just the replacement for Takatan, and now there are no longer any Takatans, is what I'm guessing, right? So does that mean there is no longer Baraka, or are we? It's either that Baraka is no longer there. He could still come as a cameo character, but story-wise, that the Takatans are no longer there, and that we eventually do not get Baraka anymore, or Baraka is just a heavily infected with this Takar disease. So he's just a result of this heavily infected human of this Takar disease, and that's what Baraka is. And I apologize each of you. I think my camera is frozen, but we are anyway almost done. We got just one more character I think left, so we'll just wrap it off once we're done with that. So Melina story wise, I think there is nothing more to say because it's pretty much in line with what she and Kitana have been through their entire, throughout the whole of MK Law from way back then. That they're both in conflict with each other over the fight for the throne, and stuff like that. So it seems like they start off good and they end up on opposite sides eventually. So the only difference is that Melina is now a pure human who is infected sadly with this lethal Takar disease that's turning her into this Takatan. Well, it's no longer Takatan, but this version of her with teeth and stuff all that turns into who we all know Melina really is. Um, so that's that. And then last but not least, I think this is the end, right? Anyone? No, this is the last one. And Raiden, and it says champion. Ooh, it says champion of Earth from right. Okay, I'll get this just in a second. Let's just read the bio in a moment. In the village of Fengjian, Raiden, also known for his kindness and his charity, he was happy to spend his days tending the fields as well as to his friends and family. So when he was asked to leave Fengjian to become one of Earthrealm's champions, Raiden hesitates, but he soon realizes that to best serve his village, he must join them. As the threats to Earthrealm mount, Raiden must mature into the great warrior that Liu Kang knows he can be. Alright, okay. So, so Raiden is also getting a really big difference, which is where, Raiden is now human. We've known that for a while. Raiden is now pretty much, Raiden and Liu Kang have swapped places, right? So Liu Kang is now the god, protector of Earthrealm. He's the guiding figure, and Raiden is now the champion of Earthrealm. So he has essentially taken Liu Kang's place. So he'll be pretty much the tournament victor, stuff like that. I guess that's the direction they're going in. But they are doing a little bit dirty by Kung Lao because if you remember even the because initially it made sense that Liu Kang would groom Kung Lao to be because always Kung Lao has always been playing second fiddle and stuff like that and has always been wanting to prove his worthiness. It would have made sense if Liu Kang was training Kung Lao to be his champion, and that was kind of like hinted or indicated towards the end of MK11, right? In the good ending, when Liu Kang ends up approaching Kung Lao, right? In the end, the great Kung Lao. So this kind of like confuses me a bit as to why they had decided to take this approach in the end because I think Raiden would have been fine being you know just a regular warrior. Like he didn't need to be the champion for them. He would have been fine. But I guess yeah, this makes also kind of like a sense. I guess this is like a whole new perspective. Seeing Raiden in this fashion. No longer being his old wise self, but rather like a really young version of himself, and he's now he needs to be guided to be the champion of Earth. So yeah, my two favorite characters are Johnny Cage and Raiden. I've always loved playing Johnny and Raiden. I think they have one of the most coolest designs, in my opinion. They kind of like appeal to me more than anyone else, but yeah. So that's it, I guess. So that's all the bios we have. We have a little more idea of what the story and what the character of each one of these characters are turning out to be. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you guys excited for this change, for these changes that we see, or do you guys, oh, are you guys excited for it, or do you guys hate it, or what, are you guys unhappy with it? Do let me know in the comments below, and it's nice to like talk and discuss about it and see like what happens to our favorite, not favorite even, but to all the well-known characters in the MK universe, because this is such a big thing. MK has been for such a long time, and then for us suddenly for the story to progress in such a way we're getting a complete timeline reset, which with with revised versions of each of the characters that we know and love. It's just crazy, right? It's just crazy. It's amazing that they're doing this. but it's also crazy at the same time that this is happening, and some of the characters that we know and love are no longer the same. So we'll see how it goes. We know that there is going to be some more gameplay reveals, some more character reveals, and stuff like that. So stay tuned for those, and I, I'll I'll catch you guys then. So do like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications if you enjoy my content. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to help support the channel, but by no means is it mandatory. You guys are always welcome to just come hang around in chat if I'm streaming, that is. Watch my videos, it's all free, no issues. So yeah, um, I hope you guys have a good day, good night, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.